Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all of those who have continued to follow me, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this particular story is coming to you straight out of Oklahoma, which is a cautionary tale and a saga of duality of a young man who did something horrifically wrong a few years earlier, and then he somehow came to a certain level of consciousness to admit his wrongdoing during a traffic stop. So the duality is, did something wrong, and he's trying to right that wrong. But the precipice to all of this is surrounded by mental illness. I talk about some of these caveats that are killing and destroying our moral and ethical code in America. Undiagnosed mental illness, the opioid crisis, homelessness, fatherless homes, inept inner city public schools, gun violence, etc. So let's get into this one that has everything to do with mental illness and duality, the duality of a young person doing something horrifically wrong and then for whatever reason decides to confess to it. So here we go. Man 28 sitting on the side of an Oklahoma road randomly confesses to teenage girl's 2016 cold case murder when cops perform a routine welfare check. An Oklahoma man has been arrested after he confessed to killing a 19-year-old teen in 2016 during a routine welfare check by highway officials. Joseph Tyler Beck, 28, admitted murdering Jennifer Kylie Molly after he was found on the side of Interstate 40 near the Reno Scott Street exit by Oklahoma Highway Patrol on May 3rd. Beck was taken to the Edmond Police Department and charged with first-degree murder after police said he confessed to strangling and murdering Molly. The young woman had been found dead in her apartment on October 5th, 2016. At the time, the Edmond Police Department considered the case to be a suspicious incident after multiple failed leads. No arrests were made till now. In a Facebook post, officials wrote, a routine welfare check by State Trooper Matt Snyder, number 828, turned into much more. On Thursday, a passerby reported someone sitting on the side of I-40 near the Reno Scott Street exit. Trooper Snyder stopped to check on a man who began voluntarily telling him about his involvement in a 2016 Edmond death. Troopers transported 28-year-old Joseph Tyler Beck to the Edmond Police Department. Beck was interviewed by Edmond detectives who placed him under arrest for the first-degree homicide for the death of 19-year-old Jennifer Kylie Molly. Since the accused arrest, the Molly family said they were shocked and blindsided by the arrest. No one had no idea that Beck had done this. The grieving family further said that they thought the case would never get solved. A complete blindside, Johnny Molly, the victim's father, told News 4. Court documents have revealed that Beck knew the victim for years, which was later confirmed by family members, and that the two were former co-workers. Beck further admitted to officials that Molly had allowed him to come inside her apartment. Now listen to this, folks, about stranger danger, using your five senses, utilizing your gut instinct, your chakras. If it doesn't feel right, it ain't right. So she She allowed him inside her apartment after he invited himself on the day of her death. He said that he said that he made romantic advances towards the young victim, but she kept refusing and then asking him to leave. According to documents, Beck told detectives that he became violent and killed Molly because he felt as if she had wasted his time. Everyone knows him. Everybody thinks he was the sweetest person and never would do anything like that. What kind of sick individual does that? The good Lord works in mysterious ways, and he's haunted by that man every day, and I hope he continues to. This man has taken so much from my family, and I'm glad he's in jail, and I want justice to be served swift and strict, said the grieving father. Beck is being held in the Oklahoma County Detention Center, and he has a court date has not been set yet. So, what are some of the outtakes from this particular story? We're talking about young folks in their early 20s at this particular time. The young lady was 19, just the beginning of her life, trying to navigate through this crazy world. And in one mistake of inviting someone into her home, they were co-workers, so I'm assuming the presumption and assumption was that she kind of felt like she knew him. But as he was in her home and started making aggressive advances to her, her gut instinct told her that he had to go. Well, I can't fault her for allowing the young man in. They had been knowing each other at work. But for some reason, in the pictures that I've seen of this young man, Mr. Beck, his eyes seemed like you could stare into a hollow soul, and that he was not on the right path of being a balanced and conscientious good person. And it shows you that mental illness is real. And many times you can see that in a person's face and their eyes. You know that gut instinct, something about that person just doesn't seem right. Now, most of us, we learn that as we go through our ups and downs in life. And of course, this young lady was only 19 years old, so she was just beginning to figure things out. But you have to try to get to know someone on an outwardly basis as much as you possibly can. 90%, in my opinion, of homicides, whether they're in Chicago, this high level and propensity of gun violence in most of our major cities, I believe they're targeted. I believe it's someone who knows someone else in some sort of way. It's based on proximity. And I think this is a classic case. I don't think the young lady would have let a complete stranger into her home, but what she didn't know is just because they worked together and there was an outwardly appearance that she kind of knew him. I think the inward appearance was she didn't know him at all. And I think this is the telltale sign for all of my listeners who could be in their 40s and 50s and have kids in their 20s, or some of my young listeners that are in their late teens, early 20s that are trying to figure this thing out, whether it's meeting people on dating sites, meeting a stranger at a bar. Time is of utmost essence in life. And what do I mean by that? If you take your time to get to know someone, most of their good qualities and bad qualities will be revealed. You got to utilize the 5 senses that God has given us. I'm in my mid 50s. So in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have Google and cell phones and all of that. How did I navigate my way through the south side of Chicago, the inner cities of St. Louis? I had to keep my head on a swivel, and I had to go with my gut, my chakra. Does this person seem like a good person? We don't ever absolutely know, But this ended up being a very unfortunate circumstance by this young lady allowing this man, Mr. Beck, in her home, in her apartment, one time, that ended up being at the demise of her life. Mental illness is real. There's a dichotomy here in this story where this young man evidently had an obsession with this young lady, and he couldn't uh, submerge his urges for this young lady. And when she rejected him, he did the most heinous thing that you can do to a person by taking their life. Uh, so the duality here, and it weighed on his conscience. So he committed this crime back in 2016. It took a number of years. It was a cold case. So he did the wrong thing. But fortunately, in the end, and maybe it was based on mental illness again, too, that when he was at this traffic stop on a highway, that this has been weighing on his consciousness for a long time. And then he decided to do the right thing by admitting to this very, very bad, horrific crime that he committed against this young lady. And both of them are at the very beginning of their adult life. He took her life, and now he has to pay the price by giving up his life with a first-degree murder charge, and probably we will spend at least 30 years, if not the rest of his life, in prison. What a sad story, where two lives have been destroyed, two families have been destroyed. It raises the bar when you listen to this story on how can you ever know when you feel comfortable thinking that you know someone, whether it's a coworker, a boyfriend, an ex-boyfriend, meeting someone on a dating site. It is a tough time in society for young people. There are tons of individuals that are walking around with undiagnosed mental illness. We are finding that there is a minute fine line between life and death, and there is such an uptick in the level of inhumanity that is being committed against humans to each other. The difference between life and death today, you can't even see the division between the two. This is a very unfortunate story coming out of Oklahoma. Tell me what you think on this particular case, but of what he did a few years back, and then actually confessing to a police officer of this horrific crime that has been weighing on him for many, many, many years. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.